My nephew does a lot of research online, and he came up with two graphs that I want to share with you. Of course, we're on radio, so they really can't see them.
Okay.
But it's phenomenally, in my mind, encouraging. And it also, in my own crazy way, kind of confirms the intuition I had that we are turning the corner as a national church, as a diocesan church, and that our focus has to be on what I call the one, which is the renewal of a personal relationship with the Lord and accompanying people into the church. So let me show you the first one.
Yes, because our viewers on YouTube, which we have a lot of, can see them.
So this one shows adult conversions into the Catholic Church.
The past 25 years.
Right? So it says here, adult conversions to Catholicism from 2000 to 2025. So this is 2000, and you could see the peak of where we were, which was about 170,000 adults coming into the church. And you can see the slow and steady decline. Some of this was the abuse crisis. Some of this was just the secularism taking. Some of this was COVID. And look at the base when it was really just at the cusp of COVID 2020.
Yeah.
Look what has happened in the last 4.5 years. So we have made up all of the difference. So I'm not making it up when I say we're at an inflection point.
Yeah.
And in our diocese, we see the numbers, right? Now, I'm not suggesting this is happening everywhere in the country because I can't speak to that. But as an aggregate, it is. And here in Bridgeport, it is. And I think it's happening in many places. So that's encouraging.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's number one. Now, number two is even more encouraging. So we've talked about disaffiliation since the cows went out to pasture. We've been talking about it for 50 years. We've been talking about it because of the onslaught of secularism, so many other things going on. And we've made it a focus for the bishops and all the rest. I am a firm believer that to reverse disaffiliation is not a program. It's not something the USCCB is going to come up with. Okay, it is literally in the trenches, person by person, with the resources that the USCCB, bishops, pastors, lay leaders provide. It's like Emmaus. It's a personal journey. Now, look at this graph. Okay. This is Catholics joining and leaving the U.S. Catholic Church. So the green are Catholics people joining the church, and the orange are leaving. Do you see what happened last year?
Amazing.
For the first time in 25 years, more people are joining the church than leaving the church.
Yes.
So we have turned the corner, at least for the moment, on disaffiliation. Because this is the gap of what the church was hemorrhaging for all these years. If my math is correct, we were losing probably between 250 and 300,000 Catholics a year in the aggregate. This is what we have been praying for. Now we have to build this so that the gap that existed in people leaving will become the gap of people joining.
Yeah.
So we are turning the corner as a church. It has been a long and hard road, many lessons learned, and nothing can be taken for granted. But this is kind of the moment when you have your rally cry to say, this is not to rest on our laurels and say we've done our work, not at all. It's just that the playing field is leveling, and we have to get working even harder to evangelize and to show people the path to the church. And really, it's the path to personal fulfillment. It's ultimately the path to heaven. So this summer did give me a huge encouragement, a boost to say, you know, when I look at myself in the mirror, say, Frank, are you deluding yourself? Mm-mm. I may be deluding myself in other things, but not this thing, not this. Okay.
What was the on that second chart? What was the year when the gap widened? It looked like early 2000s.
Okay, here I'll show it to you again. It started at 2008. Okay, so 2008, and then 2020, and interestingly, people began to join the church in larger numbers, even during COVID. Mm-hmm. So now what happened in 2008?
The housing crisis?
The financial crisis.
Yeah.
So the abuse, see, this is how I kind of see the landscape. The abuse crisis showed the church the evil that was in its midst. And you cannot have true renewal, all right, if you're talking out of both sides of your mouth or people are not being faithful. Long, difficult process. The process will never end because sin is always there. The father of evil is always there. But that was the first necessary purification. The crash of 2008, that whole crisis, in my mind, finally showed people the emperor has no clothes. Because since 2008, and regardless of your political party or your economics, it is a fact that the wealth distribution in this country and in most of the developed world has shifted dramatically into fewer and fewer hands. And that has made a lot of people question a lot of the premises that they've operated their whole life on. And the American dream doesn't seem as much of a dream for many people as it once did. That's a consequence of the arrogance of some who are profiting off of others. And then COVID really brought everything into clarity, right? Because now on a societal level, we're dealing with mortality. We're dealing with, well, is all of this going to survive at all? And what's its value? And so I think in the end, those factors have allowed the church's message to be heard anew in a new way, or at least to be heard again. And more young people in particular are beginning to say, you know what? The rat race, simply for the rat race, that I am going to decide everything about my life with no reference to anybody else, that community, I'm exhausted trying to create a community. And where's the meaning in life? People are beginning to say, well, let's look elsewhere. Maybe religious faith is not as Neanderthal as we once thought. Maybe the Middle Ages weren't really as dark as everybody said they were. Maybe there is truth here that we have ignored, or we've been led to be ignored, to have it ignored. And now it's time to rediscover it. And I think that is happening. That is happening. So I'm excited. Now, what I want to do is I want to create in 5 years statistics for Bridgeport like this that blow this out of the water. That's
yes.
See,
yes.
That's the goal. Okay. But the fact that we've had problems, the fact that we have disagreements, the fact that we have political interference, the fact that we were in a pagan or secular world, pagan in that, is exactly what happened in the First Council of Nicaea.
Mm-hmm.
There really is nothing new under the sun. And to be honest, if I could offer an editorial remark, I would suggest that at least once in every Catholic adult's life, once, that he or she pick up a reputable, substantial history of the Catholic Church and read it. Not a fly-by-night, a real substantial, like a La Tourelle. Now, we're talking a lot of pages.
Mm-hmm.
But you begin to see how history, how the Church has literally navigated history, and that there really is nothing new under the sun. And quite frankly, we could learn how other Christians dealt with the same challenges we are faced with different names, right?
Yeah.
And we would not jump to the conclusions we do or foster division in the Church needlessly, because the Church has already dealt with this if we just learned how they did it with, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thoughts about that, my friend?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. We in the past, we've talked about a book called Dominion by Tom Holland. And we interviewed a guy named Harry Crocker, who wrote a history of the Catholic Church, or the history of the world from the view of the Catholic Church.
Right.
And then we also had on Rod Bennett from North Carolina, who talked about the Church Fathers, and he wrote a book about the Council of Nicaea. So, yeah.
Right. What is new for us, is the phenomenon of social media and technology in general. We've said this many times. So history gives us direction, but it doesn't give us the full recipe. We have to learn the lessons and adapt them to the modern world. Otherwise, we're naive, because the fact that our young people who are immersed in technology are not physiologically developing differently, if we don't accept that as a fact, which it is, then we're deluding ourselves. And social media makes things permanent.
Right.
So scandals can live forever, even though in earlier times they had a lifespan because people moved on and recognized the larger picture. You could be distracted from the larger picture by all of these incidents, that there are lots of people out there to discredit the church that keep doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not completely out of history, but history tells us the larger picture.
Thanks for watching. Before you go, please be sure to subscribe, like, hit the bell, leave a comment down below. All of that stuff helps us reach more souls.